Welcome back to the Open Wide the Doors podcast here at the St. John Paul II Parish family. I'm your host for today, Erin Wright. As we continue our Lenten journey, the church calls us to focus on the three pillars of Lent: prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Today, we're taking a closer look at what almsgiving looks like right here in our own community. So, we're going to be talking about feeding the hungry in Dayton. And we'll be talking about how our parish family responds to the needs of our neighbors through programs like the Brown Bag Meal Program, the Meals for the Homeless, and Box Lunch Wednesday. I'm joined again by our Director of Care, Jennifer Zwiers, who helps lead and coordinate these efforts. Welcome back, Jennifer.
Thanks for having me.
So before we dive in, let me start with something simple. Do you have a favorite Lenten memory from parish life? Maybe a meal you shared, service you helped with, or a funny moment during a parish event?
So, one of my favorite Lenten memories comes from whenever I was the coordinator of religious education at St. Henry. And one of the things that we did was we had a family gathering day. So, we invited families to go to Mass first. And then after Mass, we'd invite them over to the PAC for food and then different activities. So, one of the activities we did was an Easter egg Stations of the Cross. So,
Ooh,
we had different tables out on the stage. Each family would get an empty carton and then they would walk a carton and then they walk around to each station. There'd be a little prayer or reflection, and then the kids would get to grab an egg, plastic egg, and write like number one, and then put a tangible item inside of it to remind them of the Stations of the Cross. So when
okay.
he's nailed to the cross, we had a nail. Whenever he was hurt, there was when he was whipped, it was a band aid. Whenever they ripped off the garments, then there was like a piece of like felt fabric that was in the shape of
Okay.
an outfit. And I
That's
got
so
to take
cool.
those and put those in the eggs, and they got to fill that all up and walk through with their parents and take it back home when they were done. And something they could use each year. The families really enjoyed it, and it was really fun to watch.
So cool. That is so cute. I love and it engages the kids a lot. I remember going
Yes.
to Stations of the Cross as a kid and I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed like hearing the stories and stuff like that that went along with it. But it was definitely a little bit harder to grasp when you're just sitting and listening and then sitting, kneeling, standing, doing all of those
Yes.
things. But having the Easter eggs and like having something that you're taking from each station, that's so cute. I love that.
Yes, the kids love it, and, the young for the younger kids, having that tangible item to touch really
Yeah. Yeah.
help
So
them remember it.
this was something that St. Henry used to do however many years ago?
Yes, probably about 3, 4 years ago,
That's cool.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool. I love that tradition. So let's go ahead and get into talking about feeding the hungry in Dayton and all of the programs that we have within our parish family. So yeah, many of us may not realize how widespread food insecurity is. Do you have a story to share or an example that really opened your eyes to this food insecurity in our area?
Yeah. So thanks, Aaron, for bringing up the common misconception about food insecurity. That it doesn't affect very many people. A lot of people
Hmm.
don't realize how widespread it is.
Hmm.
According to Feeding America, 1 in 7 people in Ohio face food insecurity.
Wow.
So just imagine you're sitting at church and worshiping with around like 300 people. That's about 43 people who'd be impacted by food insecurity. So that's a little over 14%. So that's a
Wow.
lot of the people sitting there. So
Yeah.
when you visualize it, you realize that it's a lot more widespread than we realize.
Hmm.
So one story that really opened my eyes was watching a husband and wife at the grocery store. They were using a calculator and a paper and pen while they were like purchasing groceries. So each time, they put an item in the cart, they would write down the amount and add it together. So before they went out to checkout, their total was too high. So they kind of went to the side aisle and started talking. Due to an unexpected illness earlier in the month, the cost of medical visits and prescriptions and things like that, they just had a very, very limited budget for the next couple weeks for food. So they first tallied up their necessities, like we have to have milk, bananas, bread, peanut butter, the things that they felt were necessities. And then they debated among themselves on, what they really needed after that. Was there a cheaper option? Will this go further or that? Will our kid actually eat this?
Hmm.
So this situation, it really opened my eyes to see how widespread food insecurity is. Because I knew the husband worked full time at a hospital, the wife babysat because the one child was too young, and they couldn't
Mhm.
afford childcare, so it was better
Yeah.
to stay home to find that extra job. So on the surface, they seemed okay. He had a good job, worked hard. They had a house,
Mhm.
car, went to church, volunteered a lot for different activities. So it just kind of opens your eyes to know that food insecurity really affects anyone at any time. And a lot of times, circumstances that are outside of our control.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about food insecurity, I mean, at least when I think about it, your mind automatically goes to those who are living on the streets and those who
Yes.
are homeless, those who like have almost nothing. But yeah, thank you for sharing that story because that is, I mean, anybody can be dealing with food insecurities. I mean, you may be having a tight budget, you may
Mhm.
like be suddenly laid off or whatever, and all of a sudden you have all of these bills to pay, and then there's food that you have to figure out how to pay for as
Yes.
well, and it can impact anybody, no matter what your
Correct.
situation is, and
Exactly.
you never know what could happen, what bills could come up, what emergency rainy day funds you may need to spill
Exactly.
into. Yeah, you never know. Are there any misconceptions about who experiences food insecurity?
Unfortunately, yes. We just discussed some of those misconceptions. I think one of the biggest ones that you kind of brought up is that only people who are unemployed or
Yeah.
what we consider low income
Mhm.
families face food insecurity. And as you know, that's absolutely not true. Many food insecure households in Ohio include at least one adult who is working, and sometimes that adult is working more than one job. Another misconception is that if people were trying harder, they wouldn't face food insecurity.
Mm,
And
ugh.
unfortunately, some people believe that, but obviously we know that's not true. They are really working, most of them are employed and they're working hard, but they're struggling with all the rising costs.
Mhm.
The cost of living, the rent, utilities, medical,
Nothing's
food,
getting cheaper.
everything is yeah, rising at a much faster rate than what our
Yeah.
income, our wages do. So with that rise and inflation and everything,
Mhm.
sometimes you have to choose between necessities and food.
Mhm.
And as we were talking about, it doesn't, just impact lower income. It's middle class. It's every single class of income that this is
Mhm.
affecting because everything costs more, but the income's not higher. It affects
Mhm.
everybody's budgets. It affects, impacts, seniors who are retired who have a fixed income, individual and families who have medical needs who have to prioritize medicine over
Mhm.
and treatments over food. If someone's, as income stays the same, relatively same, you have to choose something. And typically, food is one of the first things people choose to cut out of their budget. Another misconception about food insecurity that I think is often overlooked is that sometimes people look at somebody and they see them, and if they're not underweight, they think they're not food insecure. So, with many cases, it's actually quite the opposite. So, when you think about food insecurity, sometimes people think, oh, well, they have food to eat. Well, that's not really true. When we think about food insecurity, we need to think about nutritious food, not just calorie food. So, as you know, it costs a lot more to eat healthier.
Yeah.
So, when you're short on money, you tend to buy less healthy options, which then leads to obesity and chronic illness and some other issues. So, you can't just assume by what someone looks like or their
Mhm.
weight, whether they have access to adequate healthy food.
Yeah, that is I think somebody pointed that out to me, I don't remember how many years ago, and it was kind of baffling to me that it was just like, yeah, you think about, starving kids and you think of them being super skinny
Yes.
but, I mean, food insecurity, they may not be necessarily starving, but whatever money they have, whatever resources they have, they're getting the 99-cent cans of whatever,
Yes.
and doing what you need to survive, really, and
Correct.
that's important. But I mean, yeah, food insecurity it's rough. It impacts anybody, and you can't just look at somebody and make
Can't
that
judge by the
assumption.
cover. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, there's no stereotype that it really fits.
Absolutely. Can always affect anybody at any time
Hmm.
with circumstances that are completely out of your control.
Yeah, and that's so unfortunate that there's so many people in our area that deal with that. And like you said, I mean, you never know who could be dealing it. Like you could have a next door neighbor really who
Absolutely.
is dealing with food insecurities and you have absolutely no idea. But yeah, it's heartbreaking to know how many people are out there and to know that they're not making it known to everybody else. Like not in a prideful, like I am seeking attention kind of way, but like it's heartbreaking that some people are like very reserved and they don't want other people
Yes.
to know. And
Well,
so they're not reaching out for help, but then there's nobody
there.
to help them.
Yes. And
So,
in our culture, we advocate for self reliance. That's kind
mhm,
of the
yeah.
tone of today's culture, which is very anti Christian. As a Christian,
Mhm,
we're supposed to be walking along the path with each other. And
mhm,
so, hunger and food insecurity is definitely a huge issue that we need to approach as Christians because, as you said, a lot of people are ashamed or embarrassed
Mhm.
to ask for help, or they just, it's hard to be vulnerable in today's
Yeah.
society, or judge that you aren't. But as we talked about the misconceptions, most of the time they are forces outside of your control. A lot of people they're still working hard, trying hard, just the
Mhm.
cost of living is higher than what
Yeah.
wages are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so unfortunate. Inflation is getting worse every day.
Yes, it is.
We have several opportunities, that serve the hungry in our parish family. The I mentioned earlier, the brown bag meal program, Meals for the Homeless, and Box Lunch Wednesday. Can you tell us a little bit about each of these programs?
Yes, I'd love to. So let's first talk about Box Lunch Wednesday program. Because of from generous donations from our parishioners, our parish is able to sponsor this program where a group of volunteers meet on Wednesday mornings at St. Mary the Assumption to assemble 120 sack lunches weekly, which will be served to the underprivileged clients of the new Vine Pantry in Franklin. So each lunch contains a ham and cheese sandwich, chips or pretzels, oranges, applesauce, cookies or brownies, condiment packets, and a napkin. And then we have a wonderful volunteer who drives the lunches down to the new Vine Pantry to be handed out to those in need that day. We also have several parishioners who actually go down and help at the new Vine
Oh, that's so
Pantry with
cool.
serving and some other stocking and things that they need behind the scenes too. Another similar program is our St. Vincent de Paul Brown Bag Meal Program. So, this program is slightly different. It's where individuals and families buy the food themselves and they assemble the bag meals at home. So, each meal consists at a minimum a hearty lunch meat sandwich, one fruit or vegetable, a snack, and a drink. But often parishioners like to throw on an additional snack or,
Yeah.
even a
Uh-huh.
piece of candy, especially
Yeah.
around, Halloween and Christmas time.
Yeah.
We have
Uh-huh.
to add a little treat.
Yeah.
And then these lunch bags are dropped off at St. Henry in front of the PMR on the second and third Wednesday of the month at 3:30, where a group of volunteers then drive them down to St. Vincent de Paul's Dayton kitchen, and they use that at the homeless shelter in Dayton.
Cool.
And the third program is Meals for the Homeless. The church provides a pan, lid, and recipe, and those can be picked up at the St. Henry vestibule. Volunteers purchase the food, prepare it, bake it, and freeze it. And then on the last Friday of the month, except for December, because we do a pizza party instead, volunteers can drop off the casseroles to St. Henry's parking lot in front of the PMR from 8 to 9, where we have a wonderful volunteer who braves the cold sometimes,
Mhm.
who collects and then he drops them off at the St. Vincent de Paul's district kitchen and they're used at the homeless shelter also. With our goals hoping to get like 50 to 60 casseroles each month, I think it takes around 35 to 40 casseroles typically to feed. It kinda for
Mhm.
one meal, it kinda depends how full they are. If they're at full
Mhm.
capacity, then you're closer to that 50 target,
Yeah.
which unfortunately, with this weather, we tend to be, at that closer to that fuller capacity. And I do wanna highlight that we actually have a new recipe in 2026, and it's sausage hash brown casserole. So I'm excited. It's
Ooh.
much easier and cost efficient, and excited to make that recipe.
Yeah, we have so many resources and so many programs within our parish family that are feeding the hungry, and it's so cool
Yes,
that we have all of these programs available
absolutely.
and just doing great things. And I really like how they're all different. Like you're packing and you're assembling the food in a different way. It's not
Yes.
like the Box Lunch Wednesday. You're going there to pack the food. Was it the brown bag meal program that you pack
Pack at
at
home
home,
and bring.
and then the casserole? That was the
Yeah, meals for
Meals
homeless.
for the Homeless. That was
Yes.
the Meals for the Homeless for the casseroles. There's so many.
Yes.
It's hard to keep them straight,
It is, and
but,
it's lots of different talents you
yeah.
serve because some people don't like to cook or
Mhm,
bake. So, meals for the homeless is not a great option, but, packing a lunch, um, at home or at church works for
mhm.
them. It gives a different variety depending on what your talents are and what your time is, because there are different days of the week, different
Yeah,
times, so it gives different opportunities.
yeah, a once a week commitment,
Yes,
once
once
a
a month.
month.
Yep.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities for anybody to get involved and to help out. It's,
Yes.
because there's
Wait,
always gonna be people that we're
abs
gonna need to feed and help with, and so, yeah, that's having weekly, monthly, biweekly opportunities is so valuable, so I love it. I love that we have this in our parish
yes.
family. How do these encounters change not just those receiving meals, but those who serve?
So these encounters change those who serve because it gives us an opportunity to put the needs of others before ourselves. It
Mm,
allows us a time to reflect on what gifts God has given us how we can share those gifts with others, and how those gifts can impact the lives of others. So, eating food is just, a routine part of our day. It's something that we all can relate to.
Mhm.
Breaking bread, sharing food with another person is a chance to talk to someone, to build up a relationship, and to accompany them on their journey. So, when we provide food for someone who is hungry, we're not only filling their stomach, we're also filling them with friendship, care, compassion, and accompaniment. We are letting them know that they are not forgotten, they're cared for. So, even though we may not physically be there eating with them, we're still providing them with food
Mhm.
that we shared with others at the homeless shelter. So, a chance for them to walk and talk with the volunteers or other clients and visitors at the homeless shelter. So, that meal can be an icebreaker, something simple to talk about and enjoy together to develop a relationship. So, those who serve are a key part of creating these relationships.
Mhm.
Your giving has a ripple effect of love and support that goes just beyond filling someone's stomach.
Yeah. It's so beautiful, the work and the time, the donations that people put into for these meals,
Yes.
preparing these meals and then giving driving the meals to wherever they need to go and handing them out. It's so valuable. And I'm sure like even if you don't have a one-on-one encounter an encounter with whoever's receiving the meals, I'm sure it's very impactful to
Yeah,
be like, I'm making this for somebody who
right.
really needs this.
Yes.
And then for the person receiving it, like, somebody made this for
Right.
me,
You're
kind of.
still being a witness of that love, and you're
Mhm,
also being a witness to the others who are volunteering. Like when you pack at Box Lunch Wednesday, you're being that witness and that communion with those who
mhm,
are also helping to
mhm,
pack it. So that's also building your faith. You're building your dedication to the poor and that kind of stuff with and community within those that you help. And even when you drop off, you're still interacting with other people. It's
mhm.
showing that witness there
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, building that community of people who are working to fight against hunger, really.
Yes.
It's so beautiful. It's so powerful to have, like, that for many people just come together and
Yes.
work and do that. It's at Box Lunch Wednesday and then brown bag meal program, having I'm sure whoever's collecting the bags and taking the bags. I mean,
Yes.
seeing however many meals that were
Yes.
assembled and the casseroles, like seeing how many casseroles were made. It's so beautiful. It's so
Yes.
amazing.
Yes, I know in December and November of last year, of 2025, I think for the brown bag luncheons, it was like over 500 meals in a
Oh,
month were donated. Most
oh,
people donate between 10 or 20 bags each. The
yeah. Okay.
typical, some people donate, like 30 or 40, but the typical average person donates between 10 or 20 bags, which means there are a lot of people who are participating
Yeah.
in this ministry. It's amazing to see.
That is so powerful. I mean, 500 bags,
Yes,
that's amazing.
yes,
That's our programs are doing wonderful things,
yes.
really. So Lent invites us to give not just from our excess, but from the heart. How do ministries like these help us live out almsgiving in a way that actually transforms us?
So, when talking about almsgiving being a way of life that actually transform us, I was reminded of the following scripture. What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister has nothing to wear and has no food for the day, and one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm, and eat well, but you do not give them the necessities of the body, what good is it? So also faith of itself, it does not have works, is dead. James
Mhm,
2:14 through 17. So, faith, love, and works go hand in hand. True love really requires action. Jesus is our perfect example of that. He fed the hungry, he cured the sick, he suffered and he died for us.
mm,
His deep love for us drove him to action. And he calls us today to joyfully share that same love through almsgiving with everyone that we encounter. When we accept Jesus' love for us, when our faith is deep and we allow it to become our way of life, it truly transforms us. It calls us to action, to acts, to works of love. Programs such as Box Lunch Wednesday, Brown Bag Meal Program, and Meals for the Homeless are just a few of the opportunities and works that allow us to share Jesus' love. It may seem simple to pack a lunch or bake a casserole. While that is true, it is so much more. You're making a purposeful choice to take time out of your day to go shopping, to
mhm,
pack a meal, or bake a casserole. You're making a purposeful choice to use the treasure given to you by God to buy the food items or donate to the church to purchase food items for like Box Lunch Wednesday.
mhm,
You're making a purposeful choice to use your talent to bake, pack, or deliver foods by purposefully choosing to make your time, talent, and treasure to serve the needs of our neighbors who are hungry, you're opening yourself up to Jesus to allow him to transform your heart. The more and more we act for our brothers and sisters, the more and more we move towards acting out of love, true love from the heart, instead of excess or feelings of obligations to help. So for some people, these might be very small incremental changes, and sometimes we're not even conscious that that's even happening. But when we act with faith, when we give with faith, when we trust in the Lord, when we share the gifts and talents that God has given us to help our brothers and sisters, it truly begins to transform our hearts and just become a way of life, the
Mhm.
Christian life.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. Yeah, I love how you pointed out that it's the more we give, the more that we donate, the more we our time, talent, treasure, whatever, um, the more that it comes from our hearts and it becomes more of a calling in what we are truly meant to be doing rather than just feeling like an obligation. Like, yes, I know this is what we're supposed to be doing, but so I'm just going to write a check or I'm just going to do this or whatever. But it's more about the compassion and what how the Lord is calling you to serve those in need. It's not just keep them at arm's length.
Correct.
We're supposed to be there and help those in need, help feed the hungry, and do whatever we can to
Yes.
help them. And whatever that is, whether you're donating resources, you're donating your time, you're donating your ability to bake or make
Yes.
something, like it's
We all have
yeah,
something to give. God has
yeah,
all given us something, and it's our, responsibility as Christians to use what God has given us to be able
mhm,
to serve others because we're all on this journey together. We're all supposed to work together to help us to make it to our final destination to heaven. And He calls us to love our neighbors.
yeah.
That's how we do it.
And by doing that, like as we mentioned earlier, we're giving a powerful witness and testimony to those who are hungry, who may not know the Lord, who may not, depending on their situation. I mean, whoever we are coming across by giving of ourselves and donating our time, talent, treasures, whatever, we are sharing the love of the Lord. And that can inspire so many people to come to know Jesus and to come to the church. And
Yes.
then they come join us in heaven because that's what we're really all
Ultimate
about.
goal,
Yeah,
yes.
getting anybody and everybody in heavens. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so powerful. It's so beautiful. I love and Lent is just a perfect time to
It
remember, like,
is.
be reminded of all of these opportunities and what we're called to do, really. Because, yes, this season of Lent, in previous episodes, we've talked about working on letting the Lord transform you.
Yes.
And that is so beautiful and so important. But it is important to step outside of that and allow the Lord
To,
be
to
to
transform you the way He wants you to be transformed.
yes,
Yes.
and yeah, and have the Lord transform others
Others through
through
you.
you, and yeah, so stepping out of yourself and
Yes.
participating in almsgiving, the almsgiving aspect of Lent, then yeah, it's so beautiful. It's so important that I love that we're doing this podcast, especially in Lent. So
Yes.
yeah, thank you for coming
No
on and talking more
problem.
about
It's
this.
exciting.
Um, so, for listeners who are looking for a meaningful Lenten practice, how can they get involved with the Brown Bag Meal Program, Meals for the Homeless, or Box Lunch Wednesday?
So for Box Lunch Wednesday, they're always looking for monthly bakers. So one item that the parishioners do donate themselves are cookies or brownies, and they rotate each week. So you could sign up for one like the first, Wednesday of the month or second Wednesday of the month. And you could bake cookies and drop them off, and those get packed. They're always look at, people who also want to sign up to pack on the day of, and having a backup driver is always amazing if you're able to
Hmm.
help with that and deliver them. St. Vincent de Paul Brown Bag Meal asks that when you sign up to donate meals or be a driver, because, always need backup drivers. For the brown bag meals, we do ask that if you want to participate, that you reach out to the leader, Steve Brandell, to let him know so he can share information with you and to sign up for which week
Hmm.
because they have to ensure that there's enough space to put the bags in the refrigerators over at St. Paul District Kitchen, which is why we're separated out by 2 weeks. We used to do it once, one week, and we got too big. So we had to separate it out over 2 weeks because they couldn't hold all 500 at the same time.
Wow.
So we needed to split it over 2 weeks. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
wonderful problem to have. So that's why we just ask that you make sure that you get to him so you get on the schedule so we make sure there's enough space for everything. And then meals for the homeless, all you have to do is grab a pan from the back of church at St. Henry Or if you don't go to St. Henry, you go to one of the other campuses. You could reach out church office and we can get one of the pans over at one of
Mhm.
the other churches. No problem. Grab it, make it, bake it, freeze it, and drop it off on that Friday. And we're always looking for drivers for that program too. For specific details about the contact leads and ways to get a hold of them, you can reach out to one of our church offices or visit our website at stjohnpaulii.org/care.
Absolutely. We'll have those linked in the show notes for anybody who is interested in learning more about these programs and getting involved. Well, thank you, Jennifer, for reminding us that feeding the hungry isn't just a charitable act. It's a part of our call as disciples. During this Lent, may our fasting open our eyes to the hunger of others, and may our almsgiving become a way of encountering Christ. So yeah, as I mentioned, if you're looking for a way to live Lent more intentionally, we invite you to consider supporting one of these ministries. More information on these ministries will be linked in the show notes. So yeah, check the show notes out and see how you can get involved with these ministries, these beautiful ministries. Together, even small acts of love can make a lasting difference. Until next time, God bless.